Okay, welcome everyone. This is the fourth and actually last of our reports on the fourth series of reports for the patient voices and research initiatives. So I will not get into the details, but we have three different presentations today. And we have a slight change from the usual. So Veronique is here, but she's taking a lower presence today, and she's going to let Claire Dean, who's the coordinator of the patient working group, do the introductions and the acknowledgements. So please go ahead, Claire, and welcome everyone.
Merci, André. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're very excited about today's presentations and to hear more from these research teams after we launched this unique seminar series just a few weeks ago. As we have three presentations today and lots to look forward to, I'm going to keep my remarks brief. I just wanted to share a few housekeeping details with you all. We will be keeping questions for all three presentations until the end of the session today. So you can please either type your questions into the Q&A. You should see the icon at the top of your screen there with the little speech bubbles with the question marks inside. You can type your questions there, or you can hold on to them till the end of the session and raise your hand, and we will allow you to unmute yourself and ask your questions live. I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm very grateful to be joining today from the unceded and traditional and ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Our network members, speakers, and attendees today are located all across the country on lands that are home to diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit populations. I invite everyone here to honor and pay respect to those peoples and to reflect on the importance of their connections to the lands and waters that we all call home. It is now my pleasure to introduce my co-chair for today's session, Nathalie Quadrans. Nathalie is an inaugural member of the patient working group and has been involved in many diverse aspects of our network since she joined. Thank you so much, Nathalie, for all the work you do in supporting the network activities and for generously volunteering to co-chair this seminar today. I'd like to pass it over to Nathalie now if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and kick off today's seminar. Nathalie.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Hear you great,
wonderful.
Nathalie.
So hi and welcome. As Claire said, I'm Nathalie Quadrans. In January 2019, I was 45 years old, married, a 2- and a 5-year-old kid, peak of my career. I thought life was perfect, but that changed just a month later when I found a lump in my breast, and it turned out to be stage 4 breast cancer. As a result, I couldn't work because of the treatments, ongoing treatments and side effects that I had. So I started dedicating and fell into advocacy, dedicating my time to improving screening practices across Canada, but also to raise awareness and hope and bring funding to cancer research. So backing up just a few months prior to my diagnosis, 5 months in fact, my 4-year-old at the time participated in her first Terry Fox school run. She was in kindergarten, and that was in the fall of 2018. So 5 months later, I get diagnosed. So by the time the school run in 2019 started, I was very bald and had looked like your typical cancer patient. So I began sharing my story initially at her school, but now I've spoken to over 10,000 students at various Francophone schools in Calgary, because my kids go to Francophone school, emphasizing the importance of cancer research. And as an example, I give, I try to always give examples. The drug I'm currently on in HER2 is antibody drug conjugate, which in layman's term is a targeted chemo, which was only approved in mid-2022. So it didn't even exist when I got diagnosed. That's how fast cancer research is moving. So this year, as of the 2025 school run, my kids, who were aged 9 and 11 by the end of the year, have raised over $70,000 for cancer research. So let me tell you, I'm a proud mama. So backing up again a little bit, when the Marathon of Hope Cancer Centers Network said they were looking for patients for the patient working group, to me it was a no-brainer. I applied, and as Claire said, I joined the inaugural cohort that started in early 2023. And I am now also a member of the network council since a couple months after that. And let me tell you, having cancer sucks, and I'm pretty sure no one would say otherwise, but it's so extremely rewarding to even be a small contributor to realizing something so big as trying to move Terry's dream forward. So that's why we're here, actually. And on that note, I want to introduce Dr. Bishal Gyawali. He is an oncologist at the Kingston General Hospital, an associate professor at Queen's University, and a clinician-scientist with the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research. So coming back to Enhertu, the drug that I told you I'm on, the scope for which it was approved for in 2022 was much more limited than it was today. So there's a lot of things going on. And when Health Canada approves something, it doesn't mean it's funded. So Dr. Gyawali and his research has an incredible impact for patients. And the research he's working on now peels back the layers relating to cancer drug approvals and reimbursement decisions. And those are to life-saving or life-extending treatments needed so desperately by patients such as myself. So welcome, Dr. Gyawali. I'll pass the mic over to you.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction. And it's an honor and pleasure for me to be presenting at this forum today. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm very grateful for the patient working group at Marathon of Hope for funding our research proposal, which was to study the landscape of cancer drug approvals and funding decisions in Canada. And today I'll be sharing some of the results from what we have found. And I'm presenting this on behalf of my whole team. It's just not me. There are a number of colleagues and patient partners who have been behind this. But a disclaimer that what I present today is not like the absolutely final result. It's still a work in progress, and it has not been peer reviewed yet. So we'll be presenting the final results in the future, but this is sort of preliminary results that we have that I'm very happy to share with you all today. So just to give some background, how a cancer drug reaches patients in Canada is first it has to get marketing authorization by Health Canada, which is the first step that needs to happen. And then it gets assessed at CDA, used to be called CADTH in the past, Canada's Drug Agency. Previously, it used to be two distinct steps. Nowadays, a drug can be simultaneously assessed both by Health Canada and CDA. So CDA's role is to provide health technology assessment, and CDA's decisions are not necessarily binding because they provide recommendations more than decisions. So they recommend whether a drug should be reimbursed or not. And after that recommendation, it goes to what we call PCODER, or the Pan-Canadian Oncology Drug Review Committee. This committee is a part of the CDA. And after that decision, it goes to what we call PCPA, the Pan-Canadian Pharmaceutical Alliance, which will do the price negotiations with the company to make a final decision. And then each provinces will decide on making that drug accessible to the patients. So the CDA's decisions can be either do not reimburse if the CDA feels like the magnitude of benefit and the value of the drug is not that good enough, or reimburse without conditions, or reimburse with conditions. This condition is usually in the form of price negotiations because the price is too expensive. The drug is good, but the price is too expensive. Or in certain occasions, it's a time-limited reimbursement in that there is still waiting for more evidence to mature. So the motivation behind this project was twofold. One, on one hand, these are some of the studies that we did in the past where we looked at the drugs that are being recommended for reimbursement by the CDA versus those that are not being recommended, and also assessing the magnitude of benefit and the price of these cancer drugs, because we saw a huge amount of disconnect between the magnitude of benefit and the price of these drugs. And this graph shows the results from one of our studies done in Ontario about how much Ontario province is spending on cancer drugs every year. And as you can see, our spending has skyrocketed. In 10 years, we have been spending, our spending on cancer drugs alone has grown several folds from less than $500 million in 2012 to more than $1.5 billion in 2022. So on one hand, there is the issue about increasing prices of cancer drugs and the disconnect between price and magnitude of benefit. But on the other hand, there is also the big wait time for the cancer drugs that eventually get funded. So this report says that it's 2 years, and 2 years is too long of a time for patients to wait for having access to these drugs. So we wanted to, dissect this problem in more detail to find out where there is more time being consumed, and if that time is for rational reasons, as in the evidence was weak and more scrutiny was needed, or it was for administrative reasons and that can be shortened. And so this project has been informed by patient voices. Dr. Sharon Batt, I think she's also on the call today, and Mrs. Rachel Coben are our patient partners in this project. And we also had excellent partnership with the members of the patient working group at MOHCCN. We did this podcast a couple of months ago with Babe and Dan, where I talk more about this project as well. But today, to share some preliminary results. First, we want to share these results from 2011. We started 2011 because that's when the ECODA started, when the CDA started. So from the inception to up until December of 2025, we looked at the drugs that got positive decision by CDA, as in recommended for reimbursement, and compared that with those drugs that were not recommended for reimbursement. And we wanted to see if there is some pattern here. And actually there seems to be. So drugs that got positive decision, they have shown more improvement in survival of almost 4 months, 3.8 months. But drugs that got a negative decision, they were not improving survival by months. It was only 1.8 months. The same magnitude of benefit can also be presented in terms of hazard ratio. So 0.7 means it reduces the risk of mortality by 30%, as opposed to only 23% for the drugs that got a negative decision. Similarly, for progression-free survival, time until the cancer progresses, the drugs that got positive decision, they improved that by 4 months, as opposed to only 2.7 months for drugs that got a negative decision. So this HTA does seem to work as a good filter in that it's filtering in good drugs with better magnitude of benefit. But if we look at the timelines, which is our main focus, so I'm happy to present these results to you today for the first time. So we looked at the timelines for positively recommended drugs and negatively recommended drugs separately, because if a drug is ultimately going to not be funded anyway, then it taking a longer time is probably not as much of a problem as drugs that are ultimately going to be funded. So for drugs that CDA recommended positively, and we took FDA approval as the benchmark. So how much time since FDA approval? So after a drug has been approved by the FDA, until Health Canada made its decision, it was an average of 206 days. And from Health Canada's decisions to CDA decision, it was an average of 144 days. So if we combine that, it's a total of 350 days from FDA approval to CDA positive recommendation. So positive recommendation does not automatically mean that it's going to be available to patients from tomorrow. So there is going to be a couple more steps after that, but it is on average 350 days from FDA approval until the drug is decided to be funded in Canada. So this is for the positively recommended drugs. And we also looked into precision oncology drugs separately. For precision oncology drugs, it's similar. There is not much of a difference, 366 days. Project Orbis is a new initiative from Health Canada, where Health Canada and FDA participate together in making that decision, so that the time from FDA to Health Canada is dramatically shortened. So for drugs that are included under this project, it's only 266 days. So we are saving almost 100 days for those drugs that are under Project Orbis. Then we looked at those drugs that got a negative decision from CDA. And for those drugs, especially the duration from Health Canada to CDA decision is substantially longer. It's 274 days. So that the total is 518 days from FDA approval to CDA decision. But again, as I said, I don't think this is much of a problem because the decision was going to be negative anyway. So patients were not going to have access to this drug anyway. And even here, if we look at precision oncology drugs or even Project Orbis drugs, there is not much of a difference here. So in terms of what it means for patients is, I think, rather than a blanket statement that there is 2 years of gap for access to the drugs, there is more nuance to this delay in drug access. We need to be thinking about, is that delay for meaningful drugs, or is that delay for drugs that are not improving outcomes by much, or is it delay for those drugs that got a negative decision, or delay for drugs that ultimately got a positive decision? So we need to be pushing for prioritization of meaningful drugs so that the timelines are shortened. But if the drug is not meaningful and the timeline is occurring because of need for more evidence and the need for more quality data, then I think that's not necessarily a big problem. But what we need now is to be able to distinguish between high-value drugs that we need access as soon as possible versus other low-value drugs that can wait. So in terms of future directions, what we are planning to do more here is to do more granular analysis of these differences in timelines to see what other factors are affecting these timelines, and also compare this data with Ines in Quebec, because it's not under CDA, it's a different health technology assessment, and across other provinces in Canada, but also compare Canadian timelines with other countries like Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. And more importantly, this is a new development. Ontario has announced this FAST program, which is accelerated funding for specific treatments, but it limits to 6 breakthrough cancer drugs per year under Project Orbis that I mentioned earlier. But how do we select which of those 6 drugs are the ones that should be accelerated for this? So we want to develop a tool that can help any jurisdictions, not only Ontario, to create such a prioritization list so that we know which are the drugs that we need to fund immediately versus those drugs that we can wait. So I would like to thank all the members from my lab who have contributed to this, especially the students in the team, as well as our patient partners who have been pivotal for this. And I forgot to mention earlier, we are proud that in the recent AACR annual meeting, these results were also presented by one of our patient partners, Dr. Bat. And of course, we are very thankful for the patient working group of MOHCCN for funding this project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gyawali, for that incredible presentation and very insightful look at how drug funding happens in Canada. I'd now like to introduce our second presenter for today, Dr. Marie-Pascale Pomé. Dr. Pomé is a professor in the Department of Management, Evaluation, and Health Policy and the Departments of Family Medicine and Emergency Medicine at l'Université de Montréal. She is also co-director of the Center of Excellence on Partnership with Patients and the Public at the same institution. Today, Dr. Pomé will tell us about her work setting up a personalized learning path for patients with neuroendocrine tumors. Dr. Pomé.
Can you see me?
We can see your screen, yes.
And can you see me also? Yeah.
I can see you, yes.
Okay,
if
good.
You'd like to select
and
presenter
the screen
view.
is okay?
The screen is okay. We see your entire PowerPoint screen. You can select presenter view if you'd like to focus just on your slides.
Okay, thank you. So it's a great pleasure to be here with you and to present on behalf of our research team the project that is focusing on setting up a personalized learning pathway for patients with neuroendocrine tumors. So I have the privilege to be with Magali and Jérôme, who are 2 patient partners who were following all the process with us for now more than 1 year. So they will be invited also to share their experience during the presentation. So maybe I'm going back to present what are a neuroendocrine tumor, to be sure that everyone knows what are we talking about. So the neuroendocrine tumor are a tumor that originates in Sorry, I don't see my screen. I don't know why. Sorry. In neuroendocrine cells networks, a network of specialized cells found in various organs of the body. They can be indolent or aggressive. They are also known as neuroendocrine neoplasm. They are most commonly found in the digestive system, the lungs, and other glands. But in our project, we had focused on the digestive system, so intestine, pancreas, and stomach, because it covers more than 60 to 7% of those cases. These tumors often secrete excess hormones, causing a variety of symptoms. And the symptoms are very different, and it depends on the location. So abdominal pain, diarrhea, skin flushing, hypoglycemia, stomach ulcers, shortness of breath, cause. So you can understand that it's very difficult to make the diagnostic because they can be had many different kind of symptoms, and the treatments are surgery, hormonotherapy, internal radiotherapy, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, or targeted therapy. So also it's quite complicated. So it's a very rare and complex cancer, the tumor, the neuroendocrine tumor. 6 people per 100,000 in North America are touched by this kind of tumors. Those cancers are poorly understood by patients, the public, and a large proportion of physicians. And the diagnostic is uncertain, and it causes a lot of delays before referral to a specialized expertise center. We made also a previous research, and we were able to see that there were limited high-quality information available on social media. So we decided in this project to do 3 things. The first one was to create a neuroendocrine tumor patient learning pathway. The idea was really to support the patients to better understand the disease and also to navigate into the healthcare system. The second thing was to test a platform, so to put this neuroendocrine tumor patient learning pathway on the platform, and also to hire peers to be able to support new patients that are starting their trajectory in neuroendocrine tumors. So the patient involvement was very, very important in this project. For example, for the learning pathway, we had 4 patient partners who were actively involved throughout the entire project and the development. They were able to participate on 5 meetings to develop also the platform. And you can see also that we had more than 4 patients. We are 7 patients. We were involved from the beginning to start the funding application, to look at how we will do the study design, to co-construct the patient learning pathway, and also to co-construct the platform, and finally to test the platform. And we were also able to identify a couple of peers accompanying a person that will be interested to be part of the project. So here, the first thing that we've done is to do a scan, so to better understand the challenges that are related to the net. We were able to meet a lot of different stakeholders regarding patient associations, but patients also, medical organization, physicians, surgeon, radio-oncologists, and associations. Then we looked at how to identify the lived experience of living with the disease. So we were able to identify the key moments as well as access to healthcare and social services, what were the big issues related to that. Then we've done those workshops with patients with neuroendocrine tumors to really map all the different moments that are critics during their pathway, to better understand which kind of information they need and which kind of competencies they have to develop. And when we have finalized this first version, we were able to go back to a couple of stakeholders to enrich the pathway, and also to be sure that we don't have any bias, and be also sure that we ensure representativity of the patient learning pathway. And finally, we were able to develop the platform. So it's for now, it's a private platform, but the idea is to have a public platform. So this is the platform. It's in French at the moment, but it's a bilingual platform. In the platform, we cover 98 different types of concepts. There's more than 40 resources that are available, and the concepts are including understanding what a NET is, the different type of neuroendocrine tumor, how to manage anxiety while waiting for a diagnostic. And what was very interesting is that we were able to work with KeyLearn, which is an organization specialized on adults learning through numeric tools. So they helped us to have a very friendly environment for adults to be able to navigate into the platform. So we're working with three organizations in Montreal. So the McGill University Healthcare Center, the University Health Center from the Centre-Ouest of Montreal, and also the CHUM, which is the University of Montreal Healthcare Center. At the moment, we have completely finished the test with the CHUM, and we are doing the test with the MOHCCN and the CIUS. So I will present just the result of the CHUM. And it was in French. So we've done 61 invitations that were sent via email to patients that are followed by the CHUM. 11 responded positively to test the platform and to participate in the focus group. So we had 7 male and 4 female who were able to work with us. So maybe Jérôme or Magali, do you want to share what were the feedback of the patients?
I can share what I have with my experience with the platform. My experience with the platform overall was exceptional. The platform is really easy to use. It's very helpful when it comes to the information on neuroendocrine tumors. I was diagnosed at 18. So at that time, information was scarce. It was really difficult to get information on the web. Whenever you tried to find it, and somehow, somewhat, you'd come by some false information or information that were just not like medically true, or like it would be more enticing to be more stressful because it wasn't really telling you what it was. So it could have been more difficult. In my opinion, if I could have used this platform sooner in my diagnostic, I'm 24 now, it would have been really much a good help by dealing with stress also, but to know what is neuroendocrine tumors overall, because it's a really complex pathology. So yeah, it's in my opinion, this tool is could really benefiting like the new population who's diagnosed with neuroendocrine tumor, and like help them understand what the condition is and what the resources are and what treatments are for them and what like life could look moving forward. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much, Jérôme. For the clinicians, it was also a very nice feedback because we had also some interviews with them, and they said that the patients that had access to the platform arrived at their appointments better prepared and were less anxious. And they recognized also the high quality of the information and how is it accessible. And the level of literacy was quite positive also. So the patient also gave us a couple of suggestions to improve our platform. The first one was to fix some very specific technical issues, but also to add patient testimonials and chat features for psychological support. To have also the capacity to add questions to improve navigation on the platform, to clarify certain medical terms, and also improve the section on communicating with the patients. So we've done all those work, and it's now what we are doing with the 2 other sites. It's to improve and to test the new version. So the immediate impact is really to provide information on the disease and treatments, help patients understand what it's like to live with neuroendocrine tumors on a daily basis, and offer strategies for managing symptoms and help patients find resources adapted to their needs, and also to help patients to be in contact with other persons who live with the NET. Our future project is really to develop a training program for general physicians and specialists because they need to increase their knowledge about these tumors and increase also and decrease diagnostic wandering, because it's a real issue here. So the future direction is to test the platform in English and 2 sites. It's what we do at the moment. So we have recruited 30 patients to do that. Use the platform on a daily basis in 3 sites. So we do that at the CHUM at the moment, but we have to do that for the 2 other sites. Adapt the platform to the patient's profile so they can access targeted information. To continue to prioritize research initiatives for neuroendocrine tumors, because there are not a lot of research on that topic. And finally, we translate the platform into multiple languages and export to other countries. We already had some contacts with 2 or 3 organizations in France, and they are interested also to use the platform on a daily basis for French patients. So recommendation for network implementation: expand also our work to other provinces, raise awareness among all professionals in Canada, announce the tools proposed by CNET, which is an association for patients for patients with the net, and strengthen the network of professionals involved in the treatment and follow-up of NETs. So we would like to acknowledge all the research team who was very involved in the process, and the 9 patient researchers who were always very, very involved in all the different questions that we had, and they were really amazing to work with. So thank you very much indeed for your listening.
Well, merci beaucoup, Dr. Pommier. Our next speaker is Marie Veillette. She is a medical student at l'Université de Montréal, and she works very closely with Dr. Natasha Zuber. As a former Team Canada athlete and as a patient who, within days of my diagnosis, signed up and participated with 2 exercise and lifestyle studies, I'm really, really looking forward to learning about how physical activity can be used as a novel management approach, specifically for a subset of blood cancers, because the one I was a part of was for breast cancer and just general cancers as a whole, so not specific to blood. And so I'm really interested in seeing how, if there are even differences. So Ms. Veillette, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Natalie, for this introduction. So let me share my screen. Thank you also, Dr. Pommier and Dr. Gyawali, for those very nice presentations. So let's get started. So as you may know, fatigue is one of the most common symptoms reported by patients in oncology clinics. And while fatigue may sound simple as a symptom, well, in cancer care, it's often one of the most complex and difficult symptoms to treat. So I'm a medical trainee at the University of Montreal, working with Dr. Natasha Zuber, and today I'd like to present our approach to this challenge through the MPN FIT project. Myeloproliferative neoplasms, also called MPNs, are chronic blood cancers that include 3 main subtypes. So you have polycythemia vera, essential thrombocytosis, and myelofibrosis. MPN patients often live many years, but that longevity, it comes at a cost. It's accompanied by chronic symptoms that significantly affect their quality of life. Right now, there's no cure for most patients, and the current therapies we use have limited impact on symptom relief. Physical activity is known for its benefits on both immune function and inflammation, 2 key issues in MPN. Its effects have already been explored in other blood cancers with promising results, but until now, no study has looked at its potential in MPN. And that's where we come in. And so we designed a multi-center randomized controlled trial to evaluate the feasibility and impact of a supervised exercise intervention in MPN patients. We're leading a Canada-wide study with patients recruited at 4 hospitals. So here's how it works. Patients are randomly assigned to one of 2 groups. Most are joining our exercise program called FIT, while others are placed on a waitlist control group and continue with their usual activities for now. The FIT program runs for 12 weeks and is done entirely at home. It includes a personalized exercise prescription from a kinesiologist, consisting of about 90 minutes a week of flexibility, resistance, and aerobics training. After 12 weeks, patients in the waitlist group also get a chance to access the program, ensuring that they also can benefit from the intervention. We chose to include a combination of both quantitative and qualitative data. So first, on the number side, we're using validated questionnaires to look at things like symptom burden and quality of life, along with blood tests to measure inflammation and other biochemical markers. On the qualitative side, we're sitting down with patients from the FIT groups for interviews to hear in their own words about basically how they felt about the program, how manageable it was, and ultimately what difference it made in their lives. Patients are at the heart of everything we do, both in clinical care and in research. They are the reason why we do this work. When faced with a lifelong illness like MPN, many of them can feel like the disease has taken control of certain aspects of their lives. It's not uncommon for them to come to the outpatient clinic and ask their hematologist, well, is there anything else I could do to help myself get better beyond just following my treatment? With this project, our goal is to better support patients and their caregivers throughout their cancer journey. We want to empower them, help them regain a sense of control, and actively engage in their own care. The success of the study relies on strong patient collaboration, which we've already established. So first, the Quebec MPN Research Group has built a long-standing partnership with patients, with over 1,500 already enrolled in the registry. Then, lead patient partners from sites across Canada are engaged at every stage of our study, from study design to knowledge mobilization. They'll take an active role in sharing findings with the broader patient community, ensuring that knowledge translation stays grounded in patient values and vision. And finally, patient perspectives are also central to our research, and we've built them directly into our study design through patient-reported outcome questionnaires and also semi-structured interviews. We're ensuring that patients are not just participants, but actually proactive partners in our research. The project has been met with enthusiasm and rapid recruitment and with promising results. So first, the vast majority of patients in the FIT group experience improvements across all measured domains of quality of life and symptom burden. And here's the key: in MPN care, even stability in symptoms is often considered a win, so seeing improvements is a huge step forward. Second, and particularly striking, we observed a decrease in lactate dehydrogenase levels in the FIT group. That's a marker of disease activity linked to cancer-related cell damage. Our analyses also revealed changes in inflammatory and immune-related cytokines, suggesting benefits of exercise on the disease itself. Patient interviews have also added a powerful human dimension. So patients reported exclusively positive effects of physical activity, reduced fatigue, increased energy levels, and more. Many described a strong sense of pride and a feeling of regaining control over their disease. And most importantly, every single patient said they would recommend this program to other MPN patients. Think about it, that's huge. It means patients didn't just enjoy the program, but they actually saw and experienced the benefits and wanted others to have the same opportunity. We all know how difficult it can be to maintain a regular exercise routine. So you can imagine, for patients living with a chronic disease like MPN, this challenge can be even greater. But until now, we've known very little about what happens after an exercise intervention. Do patients stay active, and do the benefits last? To answer this, we designed a 12-month longitudinal follow-up study, and results are particularly encouraging. 1 year later, we're still seeing sustained behavioral effects, with most patients still engaging in regular physical activity. Importantly, patients who are maintaining this regular physical activity are also seeing significant improvements in mental health outcomes, suggesting that benefits may persist over time. We're also beginning to identify some factors that may be associated with long-term activity maintenance. And this might help us identify the patients who are more vulnerable, more socially isolated, or have certain types of disease subtypes, and may need more support to stay active in the long run. On a national scale, this is the first study to assess both feasibility and clinical impact of physical activity in MPN. That's a major milestone. It carves out a completely new path for future research. For patients, the immediate impact is powerful. We're talking about a reduction in symptoms independently of additional medications which can carry risks of toxicity. Looking ahead, the potential is even greater, working towards sustained improvements in quality of life and maybe even survival by establishing exercise as an official part of disease management. But beyond clinical outcomes, what really matters is what this gives back to the patients, a sense of agency. We're offering them an accessible, safe, and empowering way to take control over their own health, something they can actively do outside the clinic that can make a difference in how they feel and function every day. And more broadly, this work touches on a critical aspect of precision oncology. By understanding how physical activity affects cancer biology, especially in rare and under-researched diseases like MPN, we're opening the door to broader, universal applications with benefits that could extend many other cancer types. Sky is the limit. And we're incredibly honored and grateful to have the support of MOHCCN for this project. It's a privilege we don't take lightly. I'd like to sincerely thank patient working group members for inviting me here to present today. It's really an honor to share this collaborative work with a community that so powerfully embodies the role of physical activity in the fight against cancer. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Natasha Schubert, the principal investigator of this project at Maisonneuve-Rosemont Hospital, whose vision and dedication have been instrumental in bringing this work to life. And finally, I'd like to recognize and thank all the patients who took part in this study. So their trust, their time, and their generosity are really the foundation of this work. And crucially, none of this would be possible without them. From the very beginning, they've been active partners, not just participants. That level of collaboration is really, really rare, and it's one of the key reasons why I believe this study is both feasible and impactful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie, for that fantastic presentation, and to all our presenters today. We've really been treated to some great presentations on your research. We have a few minutes remaining to take some questions from the audience. So again, I'll remind you, you can raise your hand now if you have a question for any of our presenters, and we can allow you to unmute yourself to ask them live, or you're welcome to enter your questions into the chat. I'm going to go to Natalie, our co-chair, for the first question to get us started today. Natalie.
Perfect, thank you. The first question is for, I have an echo. Do you hear an echo?
No? I don't hear it, okay. Natalie, you sound great.
Okay, perfect. The first question is for Dr. Gyawali. When you were presenting your research and you talked about the incremental survival benefits in months, I can't remember, I think it was 2.8 if I remember correctly, but I might be wrong, and I'll blame chemo for that. And if hopefully that was correct. And I look at that, and as a patient, that seems like it's really low for an incremental lifespan that we're benefiting. How does that compare to other countries? Is it low, or is it just a perception that as a patient might be different than from a clinician's perspective?
No, thank you. That's an excellent question. And that is one of the reasons for our advocacy work as well, in that that 3.8, it was 3.8 for the funded drugs. That's an average. So there are certain drugs that are remarkably well, and then there are other drugs that are not doing as well, because it's the median, like half of the drugs, to be honest, they are not even improving survival by 3.8, right? Half of the drugs are doing less than that. That means, and that's why I think that we need to be able to filter the good drugs and filter the, let's say bad drugs, for the lack of better terms, so that we can focus our attention and effort on having early access to these really remarkable drugs. And then, because I also showed a graph on how much we are spending every year on these cancer drugs. So these are expensive. These have societal cost. On a separate project, we're also studying financial toxicity on patients. And some of these drugs, they also have a negative impact on quality of life too. So we need to be able to filter out really those drugs that are improving patient outcomes meaningfully versus those drugs, that are being tested in poorly designed clinical trials and just chasing what we call statistical significance as opposed to clinical meaningfulness. So there are drugs that look good on paper, but are not really good when used in real world patients. And that is one of my areas of research interest, to find out, to distinguish these two classes of drugs. And I think it is important for regulators and health technology assessment bodies too, so that we can improve access to good drugs and, filter out the not useful ones.
Thank you. That answers my question. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that context and for the question, Natalie. I noticed there was one question came up earlier in the chat from Sharon Batt. It was a question for Dr. Pomé, and she says, "Thank you for this excellent presentation. One term I did not understand was the term diagnostic wandering. Can you explain that?"
She is our patient partner for our research.
Nice, thank you. Thank you, Sharon, for that.
Okay, have you been able to answer? Sorry.
No, we were wondering if you could address that for us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's when you're waiting for a long time to be able to access to the professionals, and we didn't know exactly how to translate it in English, but in French is c'est comment on dit là, c'est on dit, enfin comment on fait ça? I don't remember the name in French, but it's when you really don't know who to consult, and you don't understand your disease, and the professionals don't know also the disease, so they don't know what to do. They do some exploration, but they don't have any idea what is your diagnostic. So it can take a lot of time until you get your diagnosis. So that can be 5-6 years or more. So it's really incredible to see that. Yeah. Mm. L'errance diagnostique in French.
Errance diagnostique.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. I see some hands here in the audience. I'll start with André.
Yes, thank you very much. That was 3 great talks. Congratulations to all of them. So, Bishal, I have a question for you. I mean, I used to be on this vaccine task force for COVID-19, and I remember we were following approval by FDA versus Health Canada for the vaccines, right? Actually, the Pfizer vaccine was even approved in Canada before FDA, and the Moderna was a few days later. So why we can't do something like that for cancer drugs?
No, thank you. That's an excellent question. And I realize I did not answer Natalie's second question when you asked this, is that how we are doing it in comparison with other countries. So for the result that I showed today, we compared with FDA. And in terms of the magnitude of benefit, actually, we are doing better than FDA, because at the FDA, FDA is approving even lower quality or lower magnitude of benefit drugs. So on average, our numbers look better than FDA's, but timeline-wise, as André mentioned, in our analysis, I think there were only 2 drugs that got approved in Canada before it got approved in the US. So why can't we approve drugs before it gets in the US? I think the reason is more related to, economics for the company as opposed to other reasons, because US is a large market, and in fact Medicare is known to be the biggest purchaser of, or the biggest payer of cancer drugs globally. So it makes more sense for the industry to target the biggest market first. And the other reason is that when FDA approves a drug, it automatically becomes mandatory for Medicare to pay for it. In Canada, after Health Canada approval, it has to go through health technology assessment, and then the decision to pay or not to pay for a drug is the second step. In US, it happens like on the first step itself. And I think the other reason is also that there is no price negotiations in the US. So whatever the company decides, Medicare is supposed to pay. So I don't think as a company they would want to start with the jurisdictions where there is going to be price negotiation and set up a precedent for the rest of the world with a lower price. But if they start with US, they can set up a higher price and then negotiate. If you put $20,000 a month and if you give 50% discount, you still get $10,000 a month, right? So based on my experience, those are the reasons. But yeah, these things can change because, as we know, there are conversations going on in the US as well that they want to pay less than what other countries are paying. So these things can change in the future.
Great, thank you for that. I see Dr. Nicole Beauchemin here in our audience today. Dr. Beauchemin is the former co-chair of the Patient Working Group and was integral to the creation and implementation of this Patient Voices in Research initiative. It's so wonderful to see you. I think you have a question for us today. You should be able to unmute yourself, Nicole, to ask your question.
Am I on? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I had questions for all three speakers. Dr. Gyawali, I was wondering about requirements for FDA in terms of technical and meeting certain criteria versus CDA. Are they pretty much the same?
Thank you for your question. No, they are not actually the same. Like what is parallel to FDA would be our Health Canada, because these are regulatory approval level bodies. Our CDA is an extra step that is not like we don't have a parallel for CDA in the US. We have parallel for CDA in Europe, in Japan, in most of the high income countries, they have this as a two-step process. But the parallel for FDA would be our Health Canada. The difference is that if FDA approves something, Medicare in the US pays for it. But just because it is approved by Health Canada does not mean it gets publicly funded in Canada.
Yes. And then there's the 14 countries within Canada, right? The 14 provinces that need to accept it, which is constitutional, I learned on another talk, and there's nothing to do with that. Dr. Pommy, ça me fait un grand plaisir de vous poser cette question. Est-ce qu'il y a des bons marqueurs pour des tumeurs? Oh, sorry. Are there good biomarkers or markers for neuroendocrine tumors? And can you follow these markers in various types of neuroendocrine tumors?
So to be honest, I am not specialized in NET because I am a physician in public health. So it's Dr. Mercier who is our specialist on NET. But I know there's some markers that you can follow. What we want to do in our research is really to follow also the impact on stress and the capacity to navigate the system, and also to better understand the information that is given by the professionals, and also to see how the patients can be more involved in their own health. So it's something that we are currently doing at the CHUM. And we follow also the marker, but we do some other things, yeah.
So eventually this type of program can be available for all cancer patients.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then it'll need constant updates because of the discoveries and the different treatments that are proposed.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, but Dr. Mercier and other physicians are very, very involved in the project, and they really want to do that in a regular basis. So we are not too afraid about that.
Okay, good. And Dr. Veillette, thank you for your presentation. I'm very happy to hear this result because it's I have been hearing about this for 25 years. When I had my own cancer, and to see that at least it's been focused on one cancer and it's scientifically demonstrating it's making a huge difference. Now, what about the other cancers, the solid cancers, and you know, there's so many now. Are there other programs checking out in these other types of cancers?
Thank you, Dr. Beauchemin. It's nice to hear from you too. Absolutely. So that's what's coming up. So personally, I don't have the answer. I'm just like a medical trainee, and maybe Dr. Schubert knows more about this than I do. But definitely, so it's future prospects to have like more programs for more cancer patients and see if there are differences between cancer subtypes and how they respond to physical activity and how they can adhere to the program also. So yes, very interesting stuff.
And eventually,
I'm just going to quickly jump in.
Oops, yes.
I was just going to say really quickly, Marie, Veillette, I can help. I've participated in 2 studies, and so I can connect you with and your team with the researchers if you'd like. But there have been some in solid tumors.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for those. Veronique, did you have a question? I saw your hand and it's come down now. We maybe have time to just squeeze one more in. We're just about at time, but we might have another minute or two.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. I did have a quick question. Thank you to all the speakers. They were great presentations, and I wish I could ask questions of all of you. But as a bit of a follow-up to Nika's question, actually, for Dr. Pommier, I wonder, I mean, this is a fantastic program, and it seems so important. And it feels to me like this is not something that should be up to individual researchers and physicians to put together. And to Nika's point of, you know, expanding this to other cancer types and as a resource for more patients. And I'm wondering your thoughts on how we could, you know, as a community, try to push this forward at a national scale to have these sorts of resources available for more people.
Oh, wow. Thank you for the question. So we have done exactly the same work for breast cancer. So that's something that we can share with you. It's not at the moment on the platform, but we have the paper the proper version, and we want to have it also on the platform, and we want to do that also for prostate cancer, and I have one also in ORL. Well, is it in English? ORL. So all the face and the neck cancer. Yeah. So we also have developed that. So what we need is to have a little bit more resources to be able to develop those tools on the platform. But yes, I have a real research program related to that, because we really think that the patients really need to have some very accurate, good information that can help them to be real partner in their own care. And it come from that. So we also assess the implementation in breast cancer and in face and neck cancer at the moment in different places in Quebec and abroad also. So yes, we and with artificial intelligence, it's quite easy also to translate this kind of platform in different languages. So it's what we are going to do with the net platform soon. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all today to all of our presenters. These were fantastic presentations today. We're really thrilled to see the outcome of these projects, which are so meaningful to the members of our patient working group. So thank you all for your commitment, and to all the teams funded through this initiative for the fantastic research and for your engagement throughout this process. If you missed any of the previous talks, I think Veronique has added the link in the chat there. They've all been recorded and posted online, so you can catch up with any that you might have missed earlier in the series. And please stay tuned. Keep an eye on your inbox, because we will have more network seminars coming up with the announcement coming soon. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. And again, my thanks to our presenters. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Thank you.
All the team.
Thank you.